A very warm welcome here on RTV News, folks, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. We hope you had yourselves a very productive day. Now, top of our edition tonight, these are our headlines. President Paul Kagame has identified agriculture as a critical driver of Africa's economic growth, but also noted that the continent has not yet unlocked its full potential, challenging the 75 graduates of the inaugural graduation ceremony of the Rwanda Institution of Conservation Agriculture to identify the problems causing it. President Andry Rajoelina of Madagascar has concluded his three-day state visit here in Rwanda by vowing that his country is going to follow his country's example when it comes to striving for long-term development. Once again, we're very glad to have your company here tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. Now, kicking off our bulletin, President Paul Kagame has identified agriculture as a critical driver of Africa's economic growth, but also noted that the continent has not yet unlocked its full potential, challenging the 75 graduates of the inaugural graduation ceremony of the Rwanda Institute of Conservation Agriculture to identify the problems causing it, give your full attention, and make it their purpose to solve it. We have more on this story.
Graduating student from the class of 2023.
The challenge from the president is well-founded because Africa has remained the continent in the entire world with the most uncultivated arable land and yet suffers from food shortages and imports over 100 million metric tons of cereals at a cost of billions annually, which is why the graduates from RICA have hit the ground running. We have started a business that deals in the multiplication of quality planting maize seeds, and the type of seed we intend to mass produce will increase yields for smallholder farms from the current 1.7 tons per hectare to as much as 7 tons. That is the biggest impact we intend to have and solve the problem of having to import maize.
First of all, let me say that agriculture does not involve just what happens out in the fields, and anyone embarking on a career in agriculture must ask themselves how they will sell what they plan on producing and have a good business plan that includes the anticipated costs of operation. You must have the entire value chain in mind. Our company helps farmers do that.
What we did first was to go to the farmers so that they may teach us their farming practices, because that is important. We then took what we were being taught here, things to do with conservation agriculture practices, and applied them out in the fields. Immediately, we were able to help farmers to increase their yields because previously they were producing 2 tons of tomatoes per hectare of farmland, and after working with us, they increased their output to 4.5 tons. None of what happened was by accident, because the Rwanda Institute of Conservation Agriculture was founded for that very purpose.
Every country in Africa needs its own version of a land-grant university. You may not all know a land-grant university, but they were the original colleges and universities established in the United States, and they transformed American agriculture 175 years ago to make it what it is today. Such an institute would be devoted to practical training, to more sustainable solutions, and operated in the context of appropriate agriculture for the specific country where it would be located. Very importantly, it would be informed by and designed for local needs, local research, and local extension. That's what the land-grant university in America was built on, was education, research, and extension. The Institute would train the next generation of leaders in agriculture to help countries reach their highest and best potential, both in agriculture but across their national priorities. 10 years ago, we decided at the foundation that we were going to try to fund this idea. To do it, we had to find the right partner. And it would be an understatement to say we found the right partner in Rwanda. Rwanda was the only partner on the continent that we could have selected.
Addressing the graduates, His Excellency Paul Kagame did not just challenge the young men and women to make a difference in agriculture, but also gave them important lessons of how to go about making it possible.
Lesson number 1, have a vision. Since its genesis, RECA's mission has been to address the long-term challenges of smallholder farmers through conservation agriculture. Agriculture is a critical driver of Africa's economic growth, but we have not yet unlocked its full potential. Graduates, in this context, I challenge you to identify a problem, give it your full attention, and make it your purpose to solve it. You will experience many setbacks. Having a vision is often the difference between giving up and persevering. Lesson number 2. Many will doubt you. Still, always do what you think is right. To be successful, you have to walk the path less traveled.
RICA is an internationally recognized accredited higher education institute that specializes in conservation agriculture and One Health principles through research, education, and extension services to train Rwanda's next generation of leaders in agriculture while supporting the country's priorities for agricultural development.
President Andry Rajoelina of Madagascar has concluded his 3-day state visit here in Rwanda by vowing that his country is going to follow this country's example when it comes to striving for long-term development. We have more.
On Tuesday, the Madagascan head of state visited the Kigali Special Economic Zone at Masoro, specifically the factory that belongs to Africa Imported Foods Rwanda Limited.
Nous sommes venus ici avec toute la délégation pour voir comment fonctionne et comment ça marche une zone économique spéciale.
We came here with the entire delegation to see how the Special Economic Zone functions, and I believe we will leave with a clear picture of how it all works so that we can emulate it back home and Madagascar may be able to attain what Rwanda has managed to do. I therefore commend you for your efforts in this regard and understand that it is necessary to develop our country's industries and create jobs. We intend to produce and process enough for our own people in the country, but it is clear that you have surpassed that step because you not only produce and process, but also export yields working with other countries in the region like Tanzania and Malawi. So your efforts have gone beyond your borders.
Donc ça dépasse au-delà de vos frontières.
His Excellency Andry Rajoelina reiterated that what Rwanda has managed to achieve shows what Africa as a whole can also do with the proper leadership.
Donc moi je pense que c'est vraiment l'exemple à mettre en œuvre.
I personally believe that this is an example to follow, and we plan to do so with the help of the experience and lessons we are taking with us thanks to the good leadership of President Paul Kagame. There is no doubt that what is happening here shows that Africa is transforming for the better. Like I said yesterday, Africa is usually associated with problems and sorrow, but you have shown that the continent has the solutions to its own problems, and Madagascar wants to follow Rwanda's example.
Madagascar va emboîter le pas également du Rwanda.
Up to $3 billion has been invested into the Kigali Special Economic Zone, and in 2022, the zone generated $500 million in revenue from exports, employing 15,000 people on a permanent basis. It is expected that by 2030, the zone will have investments worth as much as $8 billion, generating $1.5 billion annually from exports, and employing as many as 50,000 people on a permanent basis. The Madagascan president was seen off at the Kigali International Airport by Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation as he concluded his 3-day state visit on Tuesday evening.
The Chief Prosecutor of the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, RMICT, Serge Bramets, says that the decision of the Court of the Appeal in the case of Félicien Kabuga is not the end of justice for those affected by his crimes and survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. We have more. On Monday, the Court of Appeal of the United Nations, working in The Hague in the Netherlands, announced its decision to suspend the case of the financier who is considered to be the main sponsor of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, Kabuga Félicien. The court also ordered the trial court to quickly analyze what it would take for his release. It was a decision made based on a report that shows that Kabuga has health problems that render him unfit to stand trial of and play a necessary role in the case against which he is accused of, and pleaded not guilty to the crimes related to the genocide. However, according to the lawyer Murangwa Faustin, something else could have been done.
I think it's going to impact really the legacy of the international tribunals, international criminal tribunals, because there is no message given to those who really committed crimes, such serious crimes, such genocide and crime against humanity. Given that if you commit such crimes, you can play around and be in hidden place until you get old and escape the justice. Because it's not only because of the experts' report, but also the seriousness taken by the judges about the crimes, the alleged serious crime committed. I think it's not going to really give a certain message or leave behind the legacy of those tribunals.
Murangwa explains that to some extent the report that was released was confusing, which in part led to the decision that was taken, raising a whole lot of debate.
I think it's the reports of the expert, because the report itself give a message that Kabuga is no longer able to pursue or to continue his trial, which gives a room to two scenarios. One, to be fully released. Second, an alternative to trial, which was defended by the prosecutor, and free release defended by his lawyers. But given the report, which was to me unclear, it's leave a room to judges or to all stakeholders to interpret or misinterpret that report, which end up with a sad decision.
On the part of the Chief Prosecutor of the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, Serge Bramets, said that this decision should be respected even if it is a discouraging one, and he assures that this will not put an end to justice for the victims of the genocide against the Tutsi and its survivors. Bramets went on to say that he stands in solidarity with the victims of the survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, and found this decision to be discouraging for them after their continued faith in the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals for the past 30 years. He promised that his office will continue to represent them in order to hold those suspected of involvement in the genocide against the Tutsi accountable. Ibuka Dr. Gakwenzire Philbert finds this decision sad and wrong.
Frankly speaking, we have been disappointed by this decision because we consider the decision that is known from yesterday as a denial of justice. And you know that the justice has two functions, one for repression or punishment, but also on the other hand for the prevention of the crime against humanity and the genocide. And considering the importance of Kabuga, considering this case, we were thinking that the world were going to take a lesson from this case, and you see that the result is contradictory from our perspectives. The international justice, it is influenced by several cases. And sometimes we know that the judges, in the case of Rwanda, was very sensitive, but today it is not the case. Especially for the judge concerning a Kabuga case, it was not sensitive and empathy. There is no compassion to give justice to survivors. This is what we see for them. There is no sensitivity, there is no empathy. It is a deception, a total deception for us.
Dr. Gakwenzire insists that their continued trust in the international justice has not yielded anything because it has often disappointed them. After years of hiding from justice around the world, Félicien Kabuga was arrested outside the French capital, Paris, in May 2020. After being taken to The Hague, where he pleaded not guilty, there are indications that he may be released without being tried so that a decision can be made regarding the crimes he is accused of. Now moving on, the Development Bank of Rwanda, BRD, signed a cooperation agreement of 1 billion Rwandan francs with the RIM Microfinance Institution for the implementation of a project aimed at developing agriculture. Adam Squizera with more.
The increasing trend of commodity prices, in addition, high domestic food prices at the market across the country, is mostly linked to the climate, as some farmers point out.
In this season, we didn't have enough productivity from our harvest due to this sunny season that damaged some of our crops.
One of the things that was demonstrated to be a sustainable solution to the problems of low agriculture and livestock production, it is the creation of an investment fund. Since in different times, there has been a problem of low investment in agriculture, where 4.8% of all loans provided by financial institutions were only invested in agriculture, which led to the establishment of Agriculture Investment Fund of $350 million, which is allocated to help farmers to access loans at an interest rate of 8% for a period of 5 years. Various farmers testified that the establishment of this fund would put an end to the problems of low agriculture production, mainly due to the climate change. If you had a bank that was there to provide us loans, especially loans that are allocated in agriculture, would facilitate us to buy irrigation generators or get those processed seeds. All above would have facilitated us to get the production, but due to this sunshine we failed. Personally, I'm a farmer of banana plantation. For me, if we had such fund, it would have facilitated us to get enough market production and also help us to get school fees for our children. In order to solve those problems and to develop agriculture sector, through the Development Bank of Rwanda BRD established a CDAT, the Commercialization and De-risking for Agriculture Transformation, a project that aims to support various programs established by the government in order to promote the production of agriculture and animal husbandry. In April this year, when the Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente was presenting this project to the members of the Parliament, both chambers, he pointed out the important parts of it, including the insurance part, which is often shown as another obstacle faced by the farmers. This project, as I said, it will last 5 years, as we facilitate farmers to get access on the insurance of their production, because there are almost $20 million dedicated to agriculture products and livestock. Then to de-risk this sector is to first invest a few money with low rate of less than 8%. And there is also to increase the amount of insurance to cover up the farmer during disaster. Meanwhile, this project also has more other things, including irrigation and many more things. In the implementation of this project, the Development Bank of Rwanda BRD has signed the cooperation agreements with more than 8 microfinance institutions in order to facilitate those in agriculture sector to access long-term loans. That the country's foreign earnings from agriculture and livestock exports increased by 24.2% from more than $510 million in 2017-2018 to $640 million in 2021-2022. As the 2021-2022 budget year, 8,454 tons of grains and legumes were planted. The government increased the rate of support for production additives to 93% as they reached to 31 billion Rwandan francs. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
This was
Thank you, Adams Kwizera, for that report. Now, the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion points out that among other things that would solve the ongoing issue of teen pregnancies, which hinders development of countries, there is need to educate and train young ones about sexual and reproductive health. Olive Nete has the story.
This was discussed during a validation meeting of a toolkit designed to assist parents on how they can approach and discuss with their children about sexual and reproductive health, which was designed by the organization called Rwanda Women, Adolescent and Child Health Initiative. The executive director of this organization, Jacques Nsengiyumva, says that the toolkit was designed putting into consideration the age group of young people so that every parent can know how to assist their children according to their age group.
This toolkit contains information on how parents can approach the children according to the age group of the child. The information is based on each age category. Let's say if you are about to go in adolescent age, or if you are already in that age, you will be able to find the right information on how to approach and discuss with the child about sexual and reproductive health. It is designed in a way of assisting parents on such issues, so that even children can open up to them.
Dr. Ben Alexandre Mozembizi, the National Project Coordinator of the O3 program that aims at supporting countries to deliver comprehensive sexual and reproductive health education for young people, said that every parent has a responsibility to teach their children about this topic to avoid being misled with other sources of information that the child may engage with.
We expect that this toolkit will assist parents to know how they can help their children regarding sexual and reproductive health, because most of the times parents do not talk enough about this to their children, and this may lead them to consume whichever information that they get which is misleading.
According to Alinu Mutoni, the Director General in the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion, in charge of family promotion and child protection, there is need to design information based on the current development to ensure that every and each category of young people gets information on this subject so as to reduce the issue of teen pregnancies. Comparing to the current pace of development and with also other toolkits existing, it is essential when the message is designed in a way that works for young people, and it is important when you reach them wherever they may be or where they spend much time. We can be able to locate where our youth spends much time and then adopt or design an appropriate toolkit for them, and we believe that this can highly be productive. The issue of teen pregnancies is among the pressing issues that hinder the development of countries. The toolkit will be used in all districts of Rwanda. Olive Nete, RTV News.
On behalf of the news production team and I, we would like to thank you for sticking with us here on RTV News. My name is Martina Abera. Stay safe and have a great night.